Welcome back to MMGinvest. Usually we talk about financial markets, the economy, and investing in gold, silver, mining stocks, right? Well, I wanted to make this video because I don't think many of you actually know where heavy metals like gold, silver, platinum, palladium, uranium, all of them come from. And it's very crucial for you guys to understand where it comes from. It doesn't just come from the ground, okay? Matter of fact, it doesn't even come from the ground naturally. It's not made from within the earth. I will touch base on why all of these metals are extremely valuable. It's not just the monetary value, that it's money, gold and silver, because it is, and I will tell you guys and show you guys charts on why gold and silver is money versus our digital dollars and our fiat and the rest. I'll even touch base on Bitcoin and crypto, but you guys need to understand that these metals are used in all of our electronics. You're using it right now. It's in every electronics. It's in every battery. It's in the process of manufacturing practically everything in today's modern world. From manufacturing vehicles to rubber to everything. Everything takes precious metals and heavy metals to produce everything in our modern world. And the depletion of these resources are they're depleting at an increasing level, and the energy it will take to mine these metals will increase. It'll take more oil to mine deeper and deeper into the Earth's crust to extract these heavy metals and minerals to create all of the modern infrastructure, everything that the increasing human population will need and demand, right? So let's get into it. So how is gold, silver, and the other metals created? Well, essentially, it's a merger or a collapse of two neutron stars like our sun. Basically, it's a cataclysmic stellar explosion. And then the star implodes on itself. And that takes... It's beyond our... We cannot fathom how much gravity takes place during an implosion of two stars. But it's so much force that it causes nuclear fusion. And essentially you get a supernova. And a collapsing star, a supernova, what happens is the neutrons attract all the heavy iron metals and whatnot, and then in a split second, with all that gravitational pressure and nuclear fusion and heat, it creates very quickly, and the time matters as well, it creates silver, gold, lead, uranium, platinum, palladium, all of them. And essentially it takes hundreds of millions of years or thousands of millions. I'm not an astrophysics scientist, all right, guys. I've just researched a little bit into it. I listened to them, and it takes millions to create hydrogen into helium. Well, within a split second, you create these heavy metals. Now, these heavy metals, what happens to them after the explosion? They fall to Earth. All right, and then this happened a very long time ago when Earth was still a molten lava ball of molten rock, and then through geothermal activity, the gold and silver collects and it creates veins within the Earth's crust, like very small veins. Think of it as tree roots coming out to the Earth's crust. And sometimes you'll find gold and silver around volcanoes for that reason as well. Alright, so that's pretty much how gold and silver is made. It's an imploding star. And you could argue that it's universal interstellar money. Now, because precious metals have been money since man started trading goods and services, human beings have also been interested in making gold and silver. Now, of course, and these people, for thousands of years, they're called alchemists. Alchemy, right? And they've been trying to make gold and silver. And some people actually think we can make it today. Now, yes, we can make fake diamonds, but we cannot make fake gold and silver. It's impossible. There is no alchemy with even today's science that you can make it, because you cannot, in a laboratory, make a supernova explosion, right? Now, these alchemists, they created secret societies eventually. They turned into secret societies where they did weird things. But and that's why a lot of the secret society, they always have a huge love for precious metals as well. Now, with today's science, right, even if we could make gold and silver, it would probably cost billions of dollars. Now, there is one science experiment right now that might be able to make gold and silver, and that's CERN, right? The Hydro Collider. The most expensive thing on this planet. This thing costs more than anything else in the world. More than all of NASA, all that. Alright? And technically, they can make a particle of gold or silver by colliding neutrons, right? But, how much does that cost to make this? And how much can they make? Like a microscopic, maybe tiny particle of it. So I don't think in our lifetimes, our children's and our grandchildren's, we're going to be able to make gold and silver. Alright, guys? Also, recently there were articles that we'll be able to travel into space and mine asteroids and comets that are flying by millions and millions of miles per hour. Alright, first of all, it costs like $10,000 to bring like a small ounce of weight into space. Okay? Now think about that. How are you going to spend billions to create a rocket ship and then fill it, and it's going to take multiple rocket ships because mining equipment is extremely heavy, right? Then you have to get it out into space. And even if it's an unmanned mission, right? It's all robots. Something's going to go wrong because it always does. And then this mission would cost billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion. And then you have to make that spaceship go fast enough with all that weight, all the mining equipment, to catch up with the shooting asteroid or comet that you somehow found in the vastness of space, and you know for a fact it's even viable to try to go there and try to catch it and land on it, right? So you would have to know that it's full of precious metals or whatever. And then you have to catch up with it going hundreds of millions of miles per hour. Then you land on it somehow, and then you extract the metals. You have robots or people with mining equipment. Extract it. First of all, it's extremely expensive to extract metals right now on Earth's crust with, roads, electricity, everything needed all around you. What are the odds of you being able to pull that off on a flying rock that's probably spinning? Who knows, right? That's not going to happen in our lifetimes. Probably not in our children's. Probably not in our grandchildren's or great-grandchildren's. All right? Just being realistic, guys. Oh, yeah, well, technology's ever-increasing at a ever-increasing pace. Fractally, that's not true. You have Renaissance periods in human history, right? And then you'll get a depression and you'll get backwardization of innovation and even IQs of humans and whatnot. You see the waves fractally throughout human history and civilizations and empires. Right now, we're probably at a peak. All right, guys, we're definitely at a peak, and then we're gonna go back down for some time, and then again another renaissance will come into play. A good example of that was then the Roman Empire. After that, it was the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, and then after that, we had the Renaissance, and then it, it's in waves, guys. It's in waves. Strong men create wealth and abundance and empires, and then the good times create weak men, and then the weak men bring the hard times again. It's all cyclical, guys. And that's what I see in charts when I trade stocks, right? Or when I'm investing. I take there's small cycles inside of larger cycles inside of macro cycles, millennia cycles, century cycles. All right. So why is gold and silver money, not just an industrial? It doesn't just have an industrial use case. Why is it money? And why is it valuable? Well, as you can see here, some guys just dropping cash out of a helicopter onto a crowd. That's why it's worth something. 1 ounce of gold always bought you a very, very nice suit or more in human history. Sometimes it's bought you a house or an apartment building or a city block, all right, in human history. And why is that? It's because of helicopter money. Because what happens? Empires become increasingly complex. Bureaucracy, governments grow bigger and bigger. They promise more free stuff, more wars, and eventually they just have to print the money out of existence because it's the easiest route out, and it's the stealthiest tax on the public that they are not aware of. It's so if you have to pay more taxes, that's very obvious and you see it right away and you're going to get mad. Or you could just print the currency and then slowly the prices of goods and services rise, so it's less likely people will catch on, and you'll have civil unrest. All right. So what are the properties of money? What are the characteristics of money? And they don't teach you this in school, I promise. I did bring up some charts for you guys. So here's the history of fiat currencies. Portugal had the first run since 1500 here, from 1450 to 1530. Then Spain had the world reserve currency, 1530 to 1640. Netherlands, 1640 to 1720. And these are the world reserve currencies, the strongest currency in the world. And then all the currencies around the world sort of peg their currencies to this currency. And all goods and services, or the value of them, is relatively based off of the strongest currency in the world. What usually defines the strongest currency in the world? Well, there's a few things. They either have the most resources, the strongest economy. They pegged it to a resource like oil, like as of late, the petrodollar, the US dollar to the oil. Or they have the most gold and silver, precious metals. Then we had France, 1720 to 1815, Britain, 1815 to 1920, and the US, 1920 till the present. All right. But technically, guys, the world reserve currency and the international currency of the world has always been gold. It's always been traded. It's always been wealth. The rich have always transacted in it behind doors, behind closed doors, right? And so have banks. Now, how long was this running? So Portugal world reserve currency status lasted 80 years. The Spanish, 110 years. The Dutch, 80 years. French, 95 years. Britain, 105 years. The US, I think it's the longest running. Well, federal. So the current dollars, the fiat you use, are Federal Reserve notes. Prior to the Federal Reserve notes, we did have different currency, which was actually backed by gold. But the Federal Reserve notes, right, since 1913. And right now it's 2020, let's say. So it's the longest running. It's about 100 and, it's over 110 years. But it's about, I don't want to do math. um, it's about 103 years. 100 and no, it's about 107 years running. I'm sure someone will check my math. Put in the comment section. All right. So to put that into perspective, the dollar it's ran its course. They never last any longer. All right. So the rise and fall of the dollar. Purchasing power of the U.S. dollar from 1913 to 2019. This is very new chart. I like it. It's nicely visualized here. It's from howmuch.net. So you can see the value of the dollar falling over time. So the Fed was created, and that's when the value started falling. And that's because the Fed it could only do two things. And that is to mess with the interest rates on all loans in the economy, including the banking loans that they lend to each other and everyone else. And then that's the rise of fractional reserve lending, which is central banking, right? And then and that's just creation of money into thin air. And they could literally just make money. And nowadays, we say print money, but it's only very small percent of the actual money supply in the world. I think it's like around 3 or less percent. The rest is just digital now. It's digital like the cryptos. And we'll talk about that in a second. Then we had the 1930s Great Depression, right? Which I don't want to get into. But the dollar did rise on that. It spiked up. People started hoarding it, but then it had a huge dump. Then we had the Bretton Woods Agreement, which really took the dollar off of gold. Then the oil crisis in 1971. France was asking for all their... they were turning in their dollars for gold from the U.S. And then Nixon took us off the gold standard, which was the final nail in the coffin, saying that the U.S. will not redeem any nation in gold for U.S. dollars. And then it's just free fall since then. Dot-com bubble in 1999. And then we had the Lehman Brothers collapse and the mortgage-backed security crisis. And here we are today. Trump tax cuts and the longest U.S. expansion since 2009 in history. So the stock market has been expanding and going up in the longest in U.S. history, and that's because they printed money, and we have a stock market bubble now and a bond market bubble. Bond market bubble started actually back here since 1987. So it's a multi-decade long bond market bubble. Eventually interest rates will go up and they will not be able to stop them. And that's when you're going to see gold go to levels no one thought possible in dollar terms and all fiat currency terms. And this isn't just the U.S. This is every other central bank government around the world. So as you can see here, the red line is currency in circulation. And then the value, the purchasing power. So, buying food, buying stocks, buying homes, cars, land, paying your utility bills, everything. That's purchasing power. All right, guys. And they're not equal. They're not all equal. Like, food hasn't gone up as much as oil hasn't gone, or gas hasn't gone much up as much as other things, like the value of your home, college tuition, everything else. All right. You can really see it in home prices and auto and stocks and bonds. Dollar versus gold chart. At the peak in 2011, it was over 70 times the value versus dollars. if you held since 1971, you would have had I don't know, like an 8,000% return on your investment if you held gold and silver since, well, I don't know about silver, but gold since 1971. All right. Here's 20 trillion visualized, $100 bills stacked on top of each other. That's the Statue of Liberty. Here's a huge crane. And world debt is, I mean, the markets, all the bond markets around the world, it's like 1/4 of a quadrillion, which is like 250,000 trillion. Or no, it's 250 trillion. I don't know, guys. It doesn't matter at this point. It really doesn't. All right, silver demand and gold. Silver is more of an industrial use, has more industrial use purposes. I covered this in previous videos. It's used in everything from hygiene to solar panels, superconductors, supercapacitors, food packaging. It's a catalyst for chemicals, this and that. It's in everything. It's literally in everything. In producing every plastic, every rubber, every paint, every adhesive, every electrical circuit board. It's in everything. And now think about it, this guys, is plants are created, industrial plants. They use a lot of computers, a lot of metals, and a lot of things. It's only going to go up in demand, and supply is only diminishing. So let's finally get to the pictures, the charts I want to show you guys. And here we go. The supply and demand for silver. Millions of troy ounces are only going up. Now, I showed you guys pictures of the actual supply of silver right now that's like readily available. It's been depleted. If you visualized it, it's like the size of maybe 4 to 5 homes or a large building, and that's it for the entire world. The price, I expect it to explode in value. Right now, it's around what, $17 an ounce. Like I said, guys, 150 minimum, like no brainer. 300, I expect that in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's for two reasons. It's not just industrial demand. It's because the world monetary financial system is in deep, deep trouble with all of the money printed and all the debt. We see riots across the world right now. Hasn't hit the U.S. yet. But on the periphery, right? The dominoes are falling inwards. In the U.S., the strongest economy right now is in the center. And it's heading right towards us. I mean, we already see it in Europe, France, right? And watch my previous videos about the economy, all right? Watch that long video with the Titanic ship so you guys could understand if you're new. Old chart. Jewelry is more like 30% now, and central banks have way more than 17%. It's probably around 25% of the world's supply. And I'll show you guys an article towards the end of this video. Alright, so I wanted to find a chart to show you guys what's the trade of money. And of course, as of late, crypto people have created these charts. Fungible, non-consumable, portability, durable, highly divisible, secure, cannot be counterfeited, easily transactable, scarce. There's a scarce supply. Sovereign, government issued, decentralized, smart. You guys get it. So let's talk about it. Now, I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but as I always am, I am honest with you guys, all right? Or I try to be as much as humanly possible. I could always change my mind if I'm wrong. No one's always right. Or if things change. Things do change, right? All right, so here are all the traits of money. Spendable. So the crypto guy says it's not spendable. It is now, because you could go to gold money, right? and these new banks are popping up everywhere around the world. Uh, you you deposit gold, right? Or you buy it through the bank, and then they hold it. So the bank is actually backed by gold, all the money in it, and they hold gold and silver. And then they ship you in the mail a debit or credit card, and then you could go and spend it anywhere, and it's accepted everywhere. And your bank account holds metals, but then it's instantly converted to currency, and then you could spend with it. So gold and silver is easily spendable as it is cash or cryptos. Technically, it's easier because cryptos aren't accepted. They're they're not being accepted everywhere, and not just that, because of new regulations and tax laws. Every time you spend it and buy something, it's going to get taxed as a capital gains tax for crypto. So not good. Now dollars, yes, dollars are easily used. You could use it anywhere, practically. Fiat currencies, you could use them anywhere in the world, and they're easily and widely accepted. It's everyone accepts fiat, right? Although we'll talk about speed and whatnot, and transaction fees. All right, is gold and silver anonymous? Yes, it's absolutely anonymous. If you go and transact with someone with metals, nobody knows about it. It's not traceable. Now, are cryptos traceable? Yes, they're digital ledgers. Everything is traceable. Anyone can find out what you're doing with crypto. And even the anonymous cryptos, none of them are really anonymous, although some are pretty hard. And if you do the right things, I mean, probably no one's going to go after you unless you have a lot of money. And then they will go after you. And, cryptography and cryptos came from government agencies, military, who have been doing it for decades. If they really want to track you down, they will. It is a digital ledger. All right, guys? There's no way around it. It's a digital ledger. That's all it is. Cash. Is it anonymous? Yes. Most drugs are used with cash, and then they launder it through banks. The banks that we all use as well. And it's coming out as of late in the news. You know, if you guys ever watch, you should watch a good movie. It's called Cocaine Cowboys on Netflix. Miami skyline was literally built on money laundering. All right, guys. But yeah, cash, the paper cash, fiat, it's fairly anonymous. I mean, you could trace them down, though. If you wanted to. They all have serial numbers, but, you could, it is launderable. But the digital cash, no, that's all traceable. Just like crypto. That's why they want a cashless society, so everything gets taxed down to the dime and nickel or penny, and they know everything about you, what you buy and your habits, everything, to be used against you later. Transfer delay. So I will admit, gold and silver, yes, armored trucks, they do have to ship them around, and there is a delay, although I don't agree with that if you wanted to spend it, because you could go to banks now and basically you deposit fiat into the bank from your other bank. They go on the open market, they buy it, they'll take delivery, they'll charge you a little bit of fee for that, but it's not that much. They'll take delivery of the physical, and then they'll secure it and store it, and then you go and spend with your credit debit card, right? There is a delay with cryptos because of scaling issues. It takes sometimes, it depends how much money you want to transfer as well, and how much the fees you're willing to pay. You want to transfer Bitcoin, sometimes you got to wait a few hours. Depends on the hash rates and the mempool, how much people are transacting on the crypto network, right? If there's a lot of people using it, then the longer it takes for you to transact on it. Now there are new innovations coming into play they seem to be making that much easier, but as I can see, there's more counterparty risk when using those, so it gets complicated. But the Lightning Network so far not really working that I know of. Maybe it is, I don't know, but this is yet to be determined for cryptos. Transfer delay. Even if you wire money, I mean, it could take days, depending on the banks you're wiring to, right? Especially across, it could take up to a week to wire from, and in the movies they make it seem like it happens instantly. No, it doesn't. It could take a week, and it's extremely slow. Why is that? Probably because they're looking into what you're doing. I don't know. I don't know why it takes so long, but it shouldn't when you're using fiat. Transaction fees. So yes, there is storage premiums and conversion fees for precious metals, but they're not much at all. Not like they used to be because of technological innovation. Matter of fact, there's cryptos now that are becoming backed by precious metals, and the fees are going down. And also, like gold money, that banking system, right? The fees they're there, but they're not that much. They're actually a little bit more than the fees you get for using fiat currencies. So the banking fees when you're taking it out of an ATM's it's a decent amount, it's a few dollars. In some nations, it's percentages, right? So with crypto, it all depends on the miners and how congested the network is. And the fees, okay, so the more you're willing to pay in fees, the faster you will get the transaction. But, I mean, it's substantial amount in fees. Sometimes the fees are insane. It could be up to 15-20% of what you're transferring. Can you imagine? And the scalability of cryptos, right? They have a scalability issue. So if there is mass adoption, everyone starts using it, the fees would be astronomical for proof of work. And it wouldn't be worth it. Or if you don't pay high fees, you're going to wait days, maybe weeks, for a transaction to go through. Sometimes people have to wait. It depends how much money you're transferring in crypto. If it's a lot, it could take a very long time. If it's too small of an amount, it could take a very long time. It all depends on what's happening during that time. And then it also depends on electricity costs, right? If the mining farms have high electricity costs or whatever. And with fiat currencies, yeah, fees are pretty high. If you ever look at your banking statement and rack up all the fees, it's insane. You'll be mad. Go do it. And if you have a business, you could deduct these fees, but man, you don't realize it until you actually own a business and you look at all the fees you paid, transacting constantly, and taking money in and out, and then just regular banking fees while you get no interest on your fiat because of artificially low interest rates. Theft resistant. So I will agree that precious metals they're usually targets and they're really hard to hide. Although I wouldn't say they're hard to hide, you have to be clever. But midnight gardening, putting it out in the woods, then you have to risk it with third parties. So there are third parties who will, for a small fee, maybe 2%, 1% of whatever you're storing with them in value, they will charge you a fee, a small percentage fee. And there's still that third party risk. You never know. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone could break into those, and they are insured, so they're insured. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about nationalization, them going, and possibly the state going in and confiscating it, even if it's a private third party like Brinks type custodian. But there's custodian fees for physical at least, and then for stocks, ETFs, there's management fees, this and that. So there you go. With crypto, with Bitcoin, yes, there's it's actually very cheap to hold. I mean, there's no fees involved. So, and it's actually very secure unless you lose your password, your key. But I would argue that a lot of people have been scammed and stolen from. I mean, there's hackers out there who could get on your computer and they've hacked pretty much every hardware wallet out there. And even funds out there who store the keys and have cold storage wallets. I mean, some of them, a lot of the big names have been hacked. So I I know how to store it safely, but if you're not tech savvy, there's actually a high probability you might get robbed over the internet or hacked. Fiat, I mean, that gets stolen all the time, although it is insured. All right, durability. So metal is durable because of that new banking system. Can you go around and actually buy things with coins? Yes, you could do that. And I've done it, and you could do it. And it's anonymous, right? And nobody knows. Although you can't break off a piece of coin, this and that. There are smaller denominations and grams, but there's always going to be some margin shrinkage there, or you're going to lose a little bit trying to only transact in precious metals like they used to do like a few hundred years ago, right, before paper. But then again, there's certificates, right, of ownership of precious metals, and then there's debit cards and credit cards that transact with precious metals, and as of late there's cryptos as well. So you guys have to understand, precious metals is the backing of the tool you're using to transact. It's the backing, it's the pegging. All right. Bitcoin, yes, it's very durable. It's very durable. You could use it with your phone and everything else. Dollars, I think it's very durable. Yes, it's made out of paper, but come on, guys. It's durable. Remember, guys, a Bitcoin person made this chart. I just don't agree with it. That's why I put these X's. When I put a check, I sort of agree with it. These purple X's and checks. Irreversible payments. So, your possession of the metal, I mean, that's your God-given right, and they cannot take it from you. So it's good for precious metals, right? Although, when things get crazy, they try to sometimes in the past. But honestly, guys, there's so few people, average people, who actually hold physical that they're likely it's not worth them to go door to door, all right, or to harass you, or you could just say I don't have it, and they can't do anything. They say it's impossible with Bitcoin and cryptos, and it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible. Same with gold. Same with precious metals. They could always come to you and say, "We know you have it, and we're gonna lock you up until you find it, or give us the password, right? And or just give us the physical stuff." With fiat currencies, they could always confiscate it, freeze your accounts, and they know where you store it. Decentralized. Yes, gold and silver is decentralized. Why? Because everyone has a little bit globally from either jewelry, or they hold a few coins here and there, but it's international money, and it's very decentralized. So if one nation decides to peg the price, or to try to take everyone's, right, or to set prices, they can't do it because there's always another competing nation and nations, and that's how there's competition throughout nations around the world. And they try to make a global system, but they're going to fail. It's impossible. And as long as the nations are looking out for themselves, you can't set the price of metals. So in a way, it's decentralized. Is cryptocurrencies decentralized? Yes. But there's a lot of centralization of wallets that hold like over 90% of all the Bitcoins. Like the only 10% of the wallets hold 90% of them. That's a problem. That's right now it's technically centralized. There's too many whales. And that could be exchanges, banks, hedge funds, to early adopters, right, of Bitcoin and cryptos. Also, the mining farms, that technically makes it not decentralized because there's only like 3 big ones. All right, I hate to break it to you guys. Until there's and then the smaller ones don't exist because you could only have them. You could only be a huge mining farm to profitably mine and run the network of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin at a profit. You could only have a monopoly on the market to be a miner, to run proof of work. That's the freaking problem I've been trying to tell you guys with scaling. Until that is resolved, I disagree with the decentralized argument. And I know I'm going to get thumbs down and haters. Being honest, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's not going to be decentralized in the long run. I'm just saying I don't really think it is right now. And then fiat is obviously centralized. It's completely controlled. Divisibility. So, precious metals are divisible now because of that new banking system with, as the metals are reserves and then you could use a debit or credit card. Cryptos are divisible, extremely divisible, down to like, I don't know, like a million decimal points. Although it's extremely hard for an average person to understand and to transact in decimals like their computers. So they need something else to. At the end of the day, everyone they can't price everything in crypto because our brains are meant to see everything in decimal points. All right, I mean that's extremely difficult. You would still have to value it against precious metals. There may be a world where only crypto and the metals will exist, and it probably will be that. Although you guys have to understand that fiat currency today is also digital, and it actually is very similar to cryptos. No one's ever said that, but it is. The fiat system, the way it runs is it runs on a digital ledger, just like cryptos. Except the only difference is banks run this system, and the private market and people are trying to run this one with a lot of scam artists and exchanges. All right. Scarcity. Precious metal extremely scarce and becoming more scarce, especially with population of the world growing and increasing for at least until 2050, and then possibly the population might fall off, and it probably will as we go into a financial downturn. This is how I'm going to coin the next financial collapse, not just for the U.S. but the entire world. The financial and economic modern dark ages. You guys like that? Yeah, there is a fixed amount of Bitcoin itself. Although you could fork it a billion times. Endlessly you could fork it. That's a problem. If they could somehow make it so you can't fork it, that would be better. Alright? But yes, there's a scarcity, but again, sort of no. There's over 3,500 cryptos now. And that does cut into the value of the Bitcoin. Alright? The king of the hill. The crypto standard Bitcoin, if there weren't other cryptos, then Bitcoin would be probably worth a lot more right now. But because there's 3,500 of them, technically the scarcity argument doesn't work as well. There's no scarcity to fiat. They just print it at whim. Governments do it, central banks, you name it. They work together and they just print it. Non-monetary usefulness, jewelry. Yeah, there is industrial use for precious metals. So it's not just money, it's industrially used for everything. Crypto, proof of existence is not an argument. No, there is no use for it. There is one use. Okay, there is one use for it, and that is capital flight, to transfer wealth from one nation to another easily and quickly, and without them stopping you, in a way. But with new regulations, they're trying to stop that from happening. You're not going to be able to get fiat to transfer borderless, so have a borderless world, right? They're trying to stop that, right? Although you could always go from cash, like paper, or metal, even metal, to crypto and then transfer it globally. So they can't technically stop it if you're savvy enough. Although that black market it's not for the mass adoption. You have to understand the regulators and all them, they don't like that. So they're going to try to stop that so the masses can't do it. I'm just giving you guys, some truth pills here. I'm not saying that they're going to be successful in stopping it. They might never be. I'm just telling you the risks involved, and I don't really know what the outcome will be long term. Shininess. Yes, very shiny. Crypto's not shiny, although they always the visualization of Bitcoin is always a gold silver coin, which is kind of ironic, right? All right, so let's wrap it up here. Let me show you guys an article. Another reason why gold is money, well, historically it always has been, and the central banks of every nation has been buying it up since 2008, like hand over fist. And they've been accumulating it. So that alone right there tells you it is money. They wouldn't be doing it. So the entities that create the fiat into existence, right? They're buying up the metals behind the scenes. And it's not even behind the scenes. There's actually proof and evidence of the reserves of the banks buying it up. Even individual banks like JP Morgan, they have the largest silver hoard, physical silver hoard in the world, and they're constantly adding to their positions. Meanwhile, they short the paper markets on the futures, right, to keep the price artificially low, so they could grab it up for themselves before they possibly try to repeg fiat currencies back to precious metals in the near future, once the international global monetary system, fiat system, debt, house of cards Ponzi starts falling apart, because there's just too much debt in the world that's stifling economic growth, right? That also needs interest on top, and ever needs an increasing supply of fiat. Just keep everything running. All right. If you guys found this video informative, smash some likes, leave anything in the comments section, and please share my videos. It's the only way my channel grows. Also, check out all the links below my video. For the holiday season, you guys could buy bullion jewelry. That is 24 karat like bullion. Like, you just melt it down and it's money. And you could travel with it, right? No one can stop you. And it's the perfect gift, because it holds its value and will increase in value. If you buy other jewelry that's not 99.9%, those will increase in value, but not as much. Why not buy a gift that keeps on giving, right? In a really big way. That could be worth a lot. So if you want to give your wife or your husband or your kids something that will actually appreciate in value, I suggest you guys check out the link below. It's the Monet link. Also go to my website. And because of the holiday seasons, I understand everyone has to buy gifts. So do I. And I want to buy more stocks as well for myself. I'm going to give you guys another 15. I usually give a 10% off, but a 15% off for my services if you're interested in risking some money in gold and silver mining stocks for the coming largest wealth transfer in human history.